Labyrinth sends the community in a frenzy as over 3,000 duelists are toppled by this deck to a second place finish. Make sure you smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. And yes, we have the blue colorway up for the Blue Marine for those of you that have been asking for this. Trust me, I've heard the cries. I will leave a link down below so you can grab yours today. Now, YCS Osaka, Japan has come and gone. I'm going to be honest with you. Watching through how this tournament played through, seeing the craziness that was the finals was really crazy, and seeing the tech choices that are being forced into these formats where you don't have access to a side deck. It's actually insane to me seeing something like Swords of Concealing Light coming up and tearing through an entire competition. All right, like it's an entirely different ballgame out here. But the event was taken down by none other than Floowandereeze, and then this event was projected, like Tier Elements with the mini Ishizu package or the remnants of it. Still a relatively crazy deck. Shangri-La or Shangri-La definitely was also stepping up to the plate. We saw Shangri-La do some crazy things on feature, and then we saw the deck brick once, and then that was just kind of the deck ran off into the sunset after that. But, watching all the way to the finals, we saw Labyrinth step up, and Labyrinth just decimated this tier player. They opened Skill Drain, and then that was it. That was all that they wrote for the tier player. It's amazing, right? A deck that actually plays Skill Drain got destroyed by Skill Drain, and then as things continued to escalate on through the event, we made it to the finals where the Swords of Concealing Light basically ruined the Floowandereeze players, or the Labyrinth players' day by flipping down their field. But they were as shocked, I think, as the rest of the community was, seeing Labyrinth, climb up from the ashes of what's going on in this crazy battle pit down here, where you have Shangri-La and, none other than good old Tier Elements, duking it out, much like, most of our meta. You always have this, crazy powerful deck, and then all of a sudden you blink, and then you're like, what? I was auto-translating some of the comments, and they were like, oh, Pestbird's back at it again. You can definitely hear the qualms with, the OCG side of things, where they're like, oh my gosh, we don't want to deal with, the birds either. Insert Floowandereeze player joke here. So, you've seen how the community's been going for that lately. So, in a nutshell, absolutely crazy event. I loved watching it. Now, your first place list here is none other than Floowandereeze. Now, you're gonna be like, really? Swords of Concealing Light in the main deck? Yeah. The fact that they got to play Swords of Concealing Light in the main deck is absolutely crazy to me, man. And this was 3,000 duelists, by the way. This was no, easy feat. Not whatsoever. Alright, you had to grind through that many players. And Flounder's not necessarily, in the state that it is here, they only have one map. Alright, they have to struggle to set up these boards. Alright, they're also playing double Stormwind. And double Mega Rise, actually. There was one point I saw double Mega Rise on the field for one player, and we were just like, oops, that's all she wrote, because, if you can't recycle them and get them running, you're like, oh, that's going to be a bad time for you. But watching what this deck does, it looks very consistent still, even though, you got some consistency hits. Definitely Extrav was a very, very power card for this. Now, next up is our Labyrinth list. Now, making top cut here was no easy feat for this deck. I'm going to be honest with you. 6 monsters in the main deck. That's it. Alright? No maxis, none of that other crazy stuff. Our entire life plan is to set up the Labyrinth, and go. No Silver Castle. We do play the one field spell, which is fine, and then we rely on Extravs and Prosperities as our niche draw power. And then the rest of the deck is maximum trap card. Terror of the Overroot actually was a power card out of this event. I saw Terror of the Overroot did so many weird things to spells and traps. Spinning back, I saw a D-shifter. I think, yeah, there's an attempted D-shifter attempt to revive to, take out, the swords or something. I don't think it resolved, actually, because of D-shifter, come to think about that. But that was definitely something that was tried to be done, which was very interesting. So, impressive for traps. Now, third place here is going to be no different story. This is the big bully in the room. This is your combination hybrid of Shangri-La with Tyr. This is supposedly the scariest meta deck in the room. And I understand at the end of the day, when you kind of take a look at what this deck does. I mean, you're basically playing, oh, I can turn on my Arise Heart after, oh, haha, I did, full tier combo. It's a little bit crazy in terms of your power scaling, because I'm not going to lie to you, like, watching full tier combo go, and then you're like, oh yeah, by the way, we also have the Book of Eclipses in here as well, in case your opponent, tries to blink all your monster zones in this format. You can slam down the books and undo it. Like, that's why we're talking about that being an upcoming tech choice here, because freeing up those potential zones so that you can play the game. It's not a really fun matchup, if you want my honest opinion. So I love getting my entire field blanked, don't you? Next up here is our top 16 Shangri-La deck. Now, or excuse me, top 8. Now, this is going to look very basic for what a lot of you guys have already seen coming up if you've studied these deck lists. Your other real choices, I suppose, are like, do you want to play the one copy of the Terra Elements monsters, the extender, or do you just focus on the Scareclaw? Either way, you have a decision tree to make when it comes down to deck building this, and I think that's fine. Main decking the 1 talents and the 1 triple tactics to essentially search for everything. Now, the cheesy thing here is we're main decking double lands, alright? In a format where, traps can just ruin your day off of left field, sometimes you have to build in these particular outs for you to get the chance to play the game. So that's definitely something that really caught my attention here, was just some of the usages of some of these tech choices to get these decks off of the ground, man. Also, I saw, was it a Crossout Designator and a Pot of Prosperity for this event, and it was absolutely crazy seeing that resolve. Next up here is going to be a Runic deck that made top 16. Kudos to Runic. Like, their OCG Runic decks, an entirely different monster. They get to play triple Upstart, triple Card Demise, and they get to play all of the other draw power in the world with fountains. Like, this deck right here is one of the scariest things I could imagine walking into. Plus, they're playing Drowning Mirror Force in here. Alright, in a format like this, if this gets flipped up, your whole day's just going to be done. Plus, oh, Card Demise. I just netted all of this, free draw power to set back up. And yeah, you lose your hand at the end of the turn, but it's not like you can't set all of the good cards. There's no downside to getting punished for doing this. So, Runic maximizing its results here, showing that, even through everything that's going on here, that something like this, no main deck monsters needed. No maxi, don't need any of those good support cards. The deck will carry itself at the end of the day. Next up here was a top 36th place. Or it was top 36, it was one of the two. This was a Scareclaw deck. Now, understandably, the way that this deck gets to function is you get access to your Shangri-La monsters. Let's not discount that for what it is. Getting access to, stack up 3 monsters to a macro Cosmo, you're going to get the chance to ruin a lot of people's day. The big thing that, like I said, caught my attention here was we get access to the big boss monster. Hello, a big Scareclaw looking guy. But not a lot of people, I think, were really prepared for this. All right, that's kind of the thing when you look at rogue decks, like something like Labyrinth tearing through this event here, is something like this can step into the light very easily and just detour players off the face of the planet. And I think that's exactly what you continue to see here nonetheless. So this is actually a really solid pick here out of the event. 36 out of 3,000 people is not bad. And then we also had this Abyss Actor deck that made top 64. Now, it is no easy feat performing with Abyss Actor. I think the thing that tore through this particular deck, though, was some extra deck ripping that Unicore did, and then some Shangri-La zone locking. Locking the pendulum zones for this deck is like this deck's big downfall, unfortunately. I loved watching this deck. It was on stream. It seems like it wants to do things. Goes and matches a fantastic card, rookie. The comic taking control of a Shangri-La was hilarious. But at the end of the day, this deck, it'll be a good rogue pick, I think, for sure. Once again, players might not have been prepared for this. That's why you saw this deck actually take off and get the chance to shine. So, best actors, man. That new support really made this deck shine, and definitely some very, very weird places. And the last list I have here was actually a deck that ended up dropping. And the reason why I pulled this up here to show was because this was Zefra with a Shangri-La package with Auroradon. And I was like, man, I have not seen anybody try any Zefra shenanigans in so long. And for somebody to try to do this, I think they ended up, I think it was 1-2. And I was like, you know what? I want to profile this and show this just because Zefra is so cool at the end of the day. So kudos for trying out the concept. It didn't exactly get off the ground, but it's kind of cool nonetheless to see how splashable the, Shangri-La cards are. So, what do you guys think about the YCS Osaka breakdown? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.